very poignant service, and we as a society think this is a very important place, not just to commemorate what happened in this graveyard, in this kirkyard, but what happened in the aftermath of the battle. For weeks and months following that, there was like a bloodlust throughout the Highlands, conducted by the Hanoverian forces. So the reason we're here, after the Battle of Culloden and the guns fell silent, it didn't end there. The atrocities on the battlefield continued. They went round, no quarter given. Any injured on the battlefield were put to death by either bayoneting or clubbing to death. And then after that, they then moved into Inverness. Inverness was a bit decimated. They came into Inverness and they murdered, they raped women, they incarcerated any Jacobite or supposed Jacobite. They incarcerated them and executed them. So what happened in this graveyard and in the churchyard, in the hours and days after Culloden, they came into as I said, into the town. They ran amok in the town, and they rounded up anybody who we thought was a Jacobite or a Jacobite supporter or sympathiser. A lot of these people were then incarcerated in the kirk behind you. A lot of them were injured, a lot of them were dying. They were in a terrible state. Actually, when they were in there, they were beaten as well. And then what would happen is systematically, they'd select one of these poor souls incarcerated, and they'd strip them, they'd beat them, and they'd drag them out here. If the individual could stand, just round the side of the kirkyard there, the door you can see, to the right of that there's another door, and that's the old door of the kirkyard. And if you look at that, they were stood against that wall and they were executed by shooting. If you look, you'll see musket holes, the musket indents actually on the wall. Which is even worse, if they couldn't stand, they were dragged out here and were propped up against this stone here. This gravestone wasn't here, but the wee one with the heart shape with indent at the top was there. And what they would do is they'd lay their musket in the V of that stone and they'd execute the Jacobite who was propped up here. It was a spectacle. It didn't happen quickly, it was systematic. Every so often, every day or so, they'd bring somebody out and execute them. The white building over the far side, if you just see it on the far side of the river, that was a British military field hospital at the time. So any injured Hanoverian soldiers, that's where they were treated. So they had a spectacle. They were cheering and looking at the windows cheering with what was going on in this graveyard. But to me, I find that astonishing. The cruelty and the brutality to show you're a fellow human, a human being. We're all human beings, but the brutality was absolutely horrendous. So basically that's why we're here. There's also a board just along the path there. It tells you that as well. So that's why we're here. So that's basically what happened in this kirkyard. It was that they were incarcerated, they were beaten and executed. So we feel as a society it's a great place to come and not just commemorate those people, but what happened in the aftermath. And all across the Highlands, things like that happened. They ran off cattle, they burnt houses, they murdered, they raped, they killed people. You know, it was absolutely horrendous, and it was months and months afterwards, and even years after, they were still executing British generals, Jacobite generals down in London as a spectacle. They'd have the stand up and lots of seats come round, that we all selling popcorn, all that type of thing. It's absolutely horrendous. So we feel this is a very important commemoration to have. So that's a bit about basically what happened here and why we're here. Okay, I'm now going to ask Jill, who's going to give us a wee rendition of something, the Harvest of Flood.
A wee song that talks about the battle and the aftermath. Oh, the winds on the moors blow, warm the enemy's fire glow, like the harvest of Culloden, pain and fear and death grow. 'Twas the love of our Prince drove us on to Drummossy, but in scarcely the time that it takes me to tell, the flower of our country lay scorched by an army as ruthless and red as the embers of hell. Cold the winds on the moors blow, warm the enemy's fire glows, like the harvest of Culloden, pain and fear and death grow. Red Campbell and Fox did the work of the English, MacDonald in anger did no work at all. With musket and cannon, 'gainst honour and courage, the invaders' men stood, while our clansmen did fall. Cold the wind on the moors blow, warm the enemy's fire glows, like the harvest of Culloden, pain and fear and death grows. Now mothers and children are left there weeping, with only the memory of father and son, turned out of their homes to make shelter for strangers. The blackest of hours on this land has begun. Cold the wind on the moors blow, warm the enemy's fire glows, like the harvest of Culloden, pain and fear and death grows.
Thanks, Noah. Okay, that.
May the wisdom of the mighty Counselor direct you, the strength of the mighty God protect you, the love of the everlasting Father embrace you, the peace of the Prince of Peace surround you. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thanks very much for attendance. Much appreciated. We'll be here again next year. We're going to Saturday the 17th of April. Same place, same time. We'll be here doing exactly the same thing. If you're in and around the town, please come ahead and join us. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.